Spectacular Spider-Man was a comic fans were asking for literal years. Literally since Miles Morales was added to 616, fans have wanted the two of these characters, both Spider-Men, to have an ongoing comic. It just made sense. Why wouldn't you have both Spider-Men in a comic that just keeps going? Like, it's gonna sell copies, right? Well, we finally got it. Spectacular Spider-Man was released in early 2024, written by the revered show writer Greg Weisman, the maker of the Spectacular Spider-Man cartoon. And if anybody on this channel knows me, they know I love this cartoon. I would probably say it's the best Spider-Man cartoon ever made. In my opinion, at least. It's this or the 90s show. They're both the S tier, S plus tier. Outside of that, you could really start to beef with each other. But those are the top two, and Greg Weisman was the writer for Spectacular Spider-Man. On top of that, the artwork was done by longtime comic book artist veteran Humberto Ramos. He also used to do Spider-Man. He did the Spider-Man versus Green Goblin, really epic crossover storyline. I shouldn't say crossover storyline. This moment right here, it's just so epic. This is one of the most epic moments that Spider-Man has his entire history. It's like the unbelievably final battle. That's not actually the final battle between Peter Parker and Green Goblin. I believe it's Peter Parker Spectacular Spider-Man issue number 44. Unbelievably fire. Humberto Ramos really did his thing here. This book right here, Spectacular Spider-Man, was so anticipated. Marvel even made a promotional video for this series in a moving comic format. Like a full-on, full-fledged, voice-acted and everything promotional video for the story. Yet for all the hype, the legendary status around the team behind the book, and the promotions, this book failed. For lack of a better word, spectacularly. The book failed spectacularly. It went from being a book everyone wanted to read to nigh instantly becoming a book that everybody took off of their monthly pull list. Nobody wanted to read it anymore. What happened to Spectacular Spider-Man? Why did the first ongoing featuring both Miles and Peter fail? The book has been canceled at issue 15. Later this year will be the last issue of the run. I have bought every single issue of the run, and I'm going to continue to buy the rest of it. I honestly, I just feast off of Peter and Miles' interactions. I love them so much that even if the story itself is going to be bogged down, I'm still happy to see these two interacting with each other. So I've purchased and read every single one of these books. If you don't want to read this, I don't really blame you. Let me be your guide as to why this run isn't really worth it to read. What happened with this run? Why is it not so good? The run isn't Zeb Wells' Amazing Spider-Man bad, but it's really not good either. It's maligned with a lot of very obvious issues that turn fans away, and that's what we're going to talk about here. But seriously, an ongoing Spider-Man book featuring both Peter and Miles, and it's canceled before even a year and a half? That should be impossible. That's a literal layup. This is a slam dunk. These guys are the two most popular Spider-Man. There's no reason why this book wouldn't sell. It doesn't make any sense. The guys at the Spider-Man office who work in there, they're botching layups, people. They can't even finish at the rim. This is insane. How do you screw up this book? In my opinion, the first wild thing about this book isn't even about the book itself, but more so the lack of the book and why it took so long for the book to be released. This book should have came out years ago, people. Miles has been in 616 for 8 years about, right? In the comics, he's been about for in real life, he's been in the 616 universe for about 8 years, okay? This book coming out in the big year of 2024 is straight up dastardly. In my opinion, Miles and Peter should have been in an ongoing pretty much the moment Miles entered 616. It would have helped Miles greatly. It would have been a good way to introduce Miles as a character to 616, and he gets to go around with the original 616 Spider-Man. He shows him around the place. The two get to go on adventures together, and Miles makes his mark on 616 with the other Spider-Man. But that did not happen. No, that didn't happen at all. We didn't get any of that. Miles had his own ongoing, but it didn't feature Peter. In fact, it didn't really do much of anything to establish him in 616, at least in my opinion. I personally feel like no Miles Morales Spider-Man run has been able to really give this character his own standing in 616 until Ziegler took the helm. But that's a story for another video, because the Miles Morales Spider-Man run by Ziegler is just so phenomenal. The fact that Miles and Peter didn't have a book together is absurd. Like I said, this is a layup. There's no reason not to do this. It's just gonna print money. Marvel had several times they could have done it as well. Sure, the initial moment that Miles was added to 616 was the best time to do it, but there's at least 2 other times in which they could have started an ongoing between the two of them, and they just didn't. It made no sense. You have when the Spider-Verse movies were kicking ass, taking over everything. Everybody loved the Spider-Verse movies. They're everywhere. One of the highest growing animated films ever at the time of their release, and they still are to this day. I think they're both in the top 20. There's no reason why you couldn't have the ongoing come out during this time. Miles and Peter are working together in this movie, and everybody loved their chemistry together. Why not? Then the other time is when Miles Morales and Insomniac start to get his own game. You could even do it for the Miles Morales Spider-Man Insomniac game by himself solo, or you could do it for Spider-Man 2 when the two of them work together They could have also dropped the comic then. They didn't either. These two are massive pieces of media. Comics are not what they used to be, people. Comics maybe back in the day used to be big. They used to be huge. Comics literally used to sell hundreds of thousands of copies, maybe even 1 million copies. Like, not even happen. Nowadays, it's just not like that because there's so many other forms of media that people could watch or indulge in that like they're not going to choose to indulge in a form of just like drawings on a page with words. It's just, as sad as it sounds on their end, it's just the truth. But they will engage with a movie and they will engage with a video game. And these two can both be excellent stepping stones for people to get into comics. Marvel literally just chooses not to. Marvel will literally use its comics to advertise the movie and the games and not vice versa. It makes no sense. These are already more massive properties. How would you use the smaller property to advertise the bigger property? It literally makes no sense. I know the expression is better late than never, and I'm glad that Miles and Peter finally did get a comic book run together. But there was just such clear, obvious points for starting this book that Marvel just chose to ignore. It just makes one confused, for lack of better words. I have no idea what Marvel was thinking. But hey, we got the book, right? The book is here now. We can't fault Marvel any longer for giving us what we wanted. They finally gave it to us. The book we got, however, is very brutal to read right off the bat. The very first comic literally jumps all over the place. What feels like every other panel says, then, back then, now, in another location, in this new location, here it is over here, but previously, in the future. It's like, what's going on here? Why is it jumping around so much? It's so hard to follow. And the comic is obviously supposed to help us visualize things better, but it doesn't do it any justice. I truly believe this would have worked in a TV show or cartoon setting. It just would feel so much more like easier to follow. But in a comic book, I don't think it works the same. Right off the bat, Spectacular Spider-Man issue number 1, fans were already put off to the writing style from the very first issue. This problem would become less notable throughout the series as they do this transitional thing with the then and now stuff a lot less. But the first initial issue is obviously the most important issue for a comic book run. That's going to be the one that sells the most. It's going to be the window to the entire story. People buy more number 1s than any other issue. So when number 1 kind of is the writing style is not really meant for comics. It's a little too unique and odd, and it's a bit weird. It's not what you're conventionally used to. You're going to turn off a lot of readers instantly. They're going to think this is what the rest of the book is going to be like. And even though it wasn't, the book did get better in terms of its writing style. This is what a lot of people are going to perceive. And that is the very first problem after the book came out, was the very first issue alone was turning people away to it just because of how odd it was written. Not even like it was a bad storyline up until this point, just like it was just so hard to follow. The very first issue has to start with a bang to make fans want to buy books. Spectacular Spider-Man was the complete opposite of this. People read this book in its writing style and they were very put off to it. A lot of fans just jumped off the ship right away. But like I said earlier in this video, I personally live for Peter and Miles interacting with one another, so I kept on reading. And to this day, I still continue to keep reading, and like I said, I'm going to finish the run. But it wasn't until issue 3 that I really think to myself, is this worth reading anymore, man? If at issue 3, someone who's obsessed with Peter and Miles as characters begins to question if the book is really worth it, you know things really are not looking good. Issue 3 literally feels like a slap in the face. Disrespectful to all Spider-Man fans, especially those of us who can't stand the current editorial mandates and misrepresenting Peter's love interests. Let me just read you the solicitation, okay? Love is in the air at the Empire State University Coffee Bean as Miles Morales and Kamala Khan get their first date alongside Peter Parker and Gwen Stacy. You aren't going to believe this issue of the best new book of 2024. Huh? What the heck is this? This makes no sense at all. I'll get to the very glaring issue in a second. We all know what I'm talking about, but we're going to start with the small fry. Miles and Kamala are on a date. That's weird. That doesn't make any sense. In Miles' mainline book, he's dating Tiana. He's happily dating Tiana. There is no drama or anything between the two of them. In fact, Tiana's grandfather tried to kill Miles. Yeah, Vulture is Tiana's grandfather. He tried to kill Miles, so Tiana and Miles actually teamed up together. They beat him down, and then Tiana told off her grandfather for coming at her bands. Pretty much. That's pretty much exactly what happened. They don't have drama. They're on the same team. They're on the same side. Adrian Toomes even leaves, and Miles questions if they're still going to be dating. And Tiana's like, are you stupid? Of course we're still dating, you idiot. So, why is Kamala here? Miles and Tiana are in such a great place. It literally makes no sense why Kamala's here. Why is Greg Wiseman putting Miles Morales with Kamala Khan again? They are not together anymore. This is dumb. Miles isn't a cheater. This is just stupid. If you read this and you saw this cover and you're just a casual fan of like Miles Morales Spider-Man in the comics, you'd be like, what the hell? But then you continue. The glaring elephant in the room. Why on earth is Peter Parker with Gwen Stacy? She's fucking dead. They're going to rehash this again for the billionth time? We haven't seen enough clones or visions of Gwen recently? Come on! We all know this isn't going to be a real long-term thing, and it wasn't. For some reason, Marvel has this belief that like an enraged fan or an upset fan buys more stuff than a fan who reads what they believe they would want to read, right? That's why Amazing Spider-Man currently is just so bad. Because Marvel is of the notion and the belief that if they make fans mad, fans will want to keep buying books. Well, let me be the one to tell you that this strategy just does not work. The reason why people still buy Amazing Spider-Man is because it's fucking Amazing Spider-Man. You're like 975 issues deep. You really think people don't want to reach the 1,000 issue mark? They're just going to buy whatever slop you've got because the covers are at least looking good, right? End of discussion. That's not actually the validity of the situation, though. Just because Amazing Spider-Man makes fans angry is not why fans are buying it. You could actually look at this book, issue number 3 of Spectacular Spider-Man, and look no further to see that that is just a complete load of malarkey. It's bullshit. Doesn't make any sense. This issue made fans enraged. It made fans furious. And what did fans do? They chose to not buy it. This was the issue that ruined the entirety of the book and its name for all fans of the book who aren't people super duper obsessed with Peter and Miles like me. Quite literally, this book ruined everything. What happens in this book is Peter and Miles get stuck in this dream machine, a machine that's supposed to reproduce and show them their true dreams and love interests and what they really want out of life, right? So then Miles Morales starts seeing Kamala Khan and he's going on a date with Kamala Khan, and it's just like, this almost is insinuating that Miles' dream girl and true love interest is Kamala Khan. And it's just couldn't be further from the truth. At least with Gwen Stacy and Peter, they have such like a history together. It's like at least a decade, right? Around there, give or take. Like they have plenty of time together. Kamala and Miles don't. So the fact that this is already being like thrown out into the air, I just think it's dumb. But then you look at the side of Peter and Gwen, I think it's just fucking unbelievably inane. It's stupid as hell. You're not going to sit up here and tell me that Peter and Gwen were meant for each other. You're just not. I don't care if this is a dream sequence and it's supposed to project what they really are supposed to be seeing. Fans seeing that their editorial staff believes that Gwen Stacy is who would be with Peter, it's just stupid. People are so tired of hearing about this. It's proven in canon this is not true. She didn't like Spider-Man. She fucking hated Spider-Man. She's dead. She's long dead. Spider-Man then married MJ. One of the co-creators of Spider-Man was one of the people who officiated the wedding. Stan Lee officiated the real-life wedding of Peter and MJ. So this notion that the current editorial staff keeps running with, that Gwen Stacy is Spider-Man's true love and soulmate, not only is it just wrong and stupid based on everything we know about the characters, and we all know the history's there. Like, we could all read it. The books are there. We can read it. So I don't know why the editorial likes to lie to us, but on top of that, it's a slap in the face to Stan Lee's legacy as a creator of the character, that they're going to constantly just usurp his notions and his mindset and what he said about the character to be true, and they're going to run with it. People who are going to run to my comment section now, and they're going to tell me that Stan Lee once said that Gwen Stacy was Spider-Man's soulmate. And he did. I'm going to acknowledge that he really did say that. And then he said that MJ was better. This actually happened. He acknowledges this as well. MJ was a way more dynamic character that fans latched onto. It's just the fact of the matter. So I'm tired of hearing this from editorial staff that Gwen Stacy was Peter Parker's true love interest. It just wasn't the fact of the matter. It never was true, and it never is going to be true. And that is why so many people left this book. It was very clear that editorial was just putting their own views on what the book should be into this book, and yet another book was going to be poisoned from the tree that is the Spider-Man editorial staff. Anything coming from this tree will be poisonous. You do not want to read any Spider-Man books that stem from the Spider-Man editorial staff. I'm not sure if you read Miles Morales' Spider-Man book, the current one by Cody Ziegler that I talk about in every single video I bring up Miles in, but that actually has a different editorial staff than the rest of the Spider-Man office of staff. The only two Spider-Man books that I know of that actually don't have the same editors as the rest are Miles Morales Spider-Man and Ultimate Spider-Man. And I can't think of a single Spider-Man comic book fan who would tell you that these are easily the best two Spider-Man books on the market. It's not even close. Is it not crazy to anybody else that every single book under this editorial umbrella fucking sucks? It's fucking dog shit ass fucking trash can status. Basura, spazzatura, nobody wants to read it. Is that not mind-boggling to anybody else? Can somebody else explain to me why the higher ups at Marvel don't step in and get rid of these chuckle fucks, these hacks, these people who don't know what they're doing? Greg Weisman actually would go in later, and there's an issue in this exact run where Peter Parker actually addresses the fact that MJ didn't show up. And he talks about how it might have been too painful for him to see MJ, like on his psyche, that like, he wouldn't have been able to do it, which is why the Dream Machine didn't actually produce MJ, because it wouldn't have been a dream. It would have been a nightmare for Peter. And I'm not going to lie. I like this writing. I like Greg Weisman as a writer. I don't think this is bad writing at all. I think it's phenomenal writing. But issue 3 already ruined everything. I think this is issue 6 when this comes up. Everything was already ruined. I got to see this, and maybe like 15 other people. But most people who were buying the book at issue 1 had already stopped by issue 3. And if they didn't stop by issue 3 annihilated the rest, right? So you don't probably even know that they got this like moment where Peter actually talks about how MJ probably should have been the one there, but she wasn't because it would have been too painful. And he kind of hints at MJ being the true love. Sadly, there's actually still wrong with this run. There's still another major issue that we have to talk about. There's actually 2 more. First off, it's another editorial issue. Editorial actually mandated that there be an original character named Elementary in this run. Elementary is a character. She gets powers in the run, and her powers are she has powers of every single element, which is it's pretty cool. You know, it's not bad. She's got fire, she got water, she's got all these cool powers. She got rock, earth, whatever, air. And what this does actually is pretty good. It brings in the rest of the Marvel universe, right? Like the Thing comes in to help her with her rock form. You got Miles's former adversary, now turned like frenemy, Gust. She helps her with her wind form. Hydro shows up to help her with her water form, another like frenemy villain guy. So it's pretty cool that we're getting to see the greater version of the Marvel Universe interacting with the 2 Spider-Men, right? I love that. That's what the whole book is about. The problem is it never ended. Like the moment they made Elementary like a character in the story became about her. This is Spectacular Spider-Man, not Spectacular Elementary Men. Like seriously, it's so odd to me that they would do this. I can't believe it. And this is an editorial mandate. This was not Greg Weisman. This was Nick Lowe. Nick Lowe was the person who was very adamant that this would be a character in this run. So I don't want to fault Greg Weisman for this one. He had to do it. It's very obvious that this is an issue. The reason people bought this book was because of Peter and Miles. We want to see Peter and Miles interacting with one another. If the book was just Peter and Miles interacting with one another for like 5 straight arcs before they introduced new characters, people would have freaking loved it. People would have been very ecstatic with that. Instead, the first arc is about like Gwen and Kamala Khan being with Miles and Peter, which nobody wanted. And then the second arc right away introduces an original character, and then the rest of the story is just focusing on the original character. I can't believe it. It almost just sounds like it sounds so hard to believe, right? That we would finally get the Spectacular Spider-Man run we've always wanted, all of us. That we would get Miles and Peter. They get to be in 616 together. They get to be in an ongoing comic, and it doesn't even focus on them. It focuses on a brand new character. Wow. Okay, editorial, you suck. That's all I can say, because I don't want to bog down any more of this video just talking about how dog shit the editorial is. Anything editorial gets their hands on is officially ruined in my eyes. Anything with any of these people, it's horrible. It's pathetic. There is one more issue with this run. It's not necessarily an editorial issue to my knowledge, but it is an issue with this run. The final issue I have with this run is how Peter and Miles are characterized. Peter is literally an immature child still. We're still getting an immature Peter. And then we get Miles as like a strict, stern Spider-Man? What is this characterization? Peter being a child is so played out. No one wants to read this anymore. We were over it. It's been a major issue in 616 Spider-Man books for over a decade now. This character can't grow up. What's that about? We want to read Spider-Man growing up. Times change, right? 60 years later, we don't want to see him be a kid anymore. Can we finally not see him be a kid? To see it be another major issue ruining yet another book is so tragic. Peter Parker Spider-Man at this point is literally just perpetually a child forever. And making Miles Morales Spider-Man boring and stern? Wild. Actually wild. You would have to try to do that. It's so hard to do, making this character boring and stern. I don't get it. Well, whose decision was this? They're both supposed to be funny, over-the-top characters and superheroes, right? Why couldn't they just be that together? Why do we need like a goofier, lamer Spider-Man and then a boring, stern Spider-Man? Why can't they both just be fun Spider-Man together? Why can't they actually just be characterized how they're actually characterized? I can't really fault Greg Weisman for Peter Parker's characterization in this book. That's how the editorial staff wants him characterized, as a literal fucking man-child. So it's not really his fault. But if this is Greg Weisman's decision to portray Miles like this is you can't defend this. How do you make Miles boring? He's so cool. He's so fun and interesting. He's so freaking like contemporary. So I just don't understand how they made them so boring and lame. That's just my opinion at the end of the day on their characterizations. I don't think either of their characterizations helped in any way for this book. Didn't do the book any service. Another minor issue some people had with this comic was the art. I personally disagree. I really did enjoy the artwork. I love Ramos. I think he's really good at what he does. It's very stylized, and I'm a big fan of stylized art. But it's not for everybody, and that's like a big thing about stylized art, is that it isn't for everybody. Some people may love it more than others, and others just don't like it at all straight up. For me, I did like it, but there is no way around this. I didn't like this, and I think anybody who ever saw this didn't like it. This is probably like the worst comic book cover ever. Are you guys looking at this? I don't even understand like what's supposed to be happening here. It just looks like Gooner bait, but with like the villains in the background. Why does this underage child Miles Morales Spider-Man look like he's about to bang this adult Felicia? He's about to slide right in. I don't like it. This is the worst comic book cover ever. I think Ramos was the one who drew this, so I do got to put it on him. But other than that, I do like the interior artwork and the comic book covers. I just have to point out the fact that I know a lot of people did have this as an issue. Not a major issue, but some people did have an issue with the artwork. Look, Spectacular Spider-Man overall, it's really not good. I don't think it's really worth reading for a lot of people who just are probably going to end up hating it, right? I did enjoy the interactions between Peter and Miles. I think underneath all the editorial slop that they throw on top of this book, there is something heartfelt under there, and Greg Weisman and Ramos were getting to it. They just didn't have enough time, and they also had the completely wrong mandates around them that really just threw monkey wrenches in their work constantly. I really wanted this book to be good. I've been waiting for it to come out for literal years. My excitement from pre-release to now is literally like the meme of that one dude from Breaking Bad who's smiling, and then he's got the straight face. It's just like, ugh. I think he's from Breaking Bad at least. We really got an ongoing comic for the Spider-Men. Both Peter and Miles. Yet it features an OC for more of the fucking run than the rest of the two of them. How does that even make sense? How does that add up? This is exemplary of a larger problem at Marvel. Until the Spider-Man editorial become more open to how Peter can be written, any book that comes from them is going to suffer. Peter is only written well in Ultimate Spider-Man, and that doesn't have the same editorial as 616, so it makes sense. As long as these chuckle fucks who run the show at the Amazing Spider-Man office are still there, you might as well give up all your hopes for getting a Peter Parker Spider-Man book that's any bit of decent. It's just going to be ass, and it's just going to be trash. A Miles Morales and Peter Parker comic, and they fumbled it. That should be impossible. The Spider-Man editorial sucks. If you guys enjoyed this video, you should check out the Patreon. I got some extra content on there. If you want to talk to me about things specifically, I'll put my Discord in the description down below. That's about it for me in this video. Make sure you leave a like, comment, and subscribe. Let me know what you think of Spectacular Spider-Man if you did get to read it. And you're going to get another video from me later in the week. Dunk out. Peace!